Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 16th, 2024 and Barca Athletic are still alive in the playoffs to get promoted from 3rd to 2nd division. Also, Ferran Torres, through his representatives, has informed the club that he will not be leaving during this summer transfer market. And finally, Joao Cancelo's future at Barcelona is currently uncertain. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and before we begin with the news, just a quick reminder to make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. All of this helps this channel continue to grow. Also, if you are looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure you hit the kit bag. And if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure you head to Bet Us. Both links for kit bag and Bet Us are down below in the description. And now begin with the news that Barca Athletic are still alive in the playoffs to get promoted from 3rd to 2nd division. Now, as you know by now, Barca Athletic won the semi-final playoffs against Ibiza on an aggregate 7-4, and as such, they moved on to the finals where they faced off Cordoba in the first leg today at the Johan Cruyff Stadium, where Barca Athletic drew 1-1 with a late heroic goal by El Pocho, where Barca Athletic were losing for most of the match 0-1, but then El Pocho scored that final goal, that Barca Athletic's first goal during the final moments, and as such, Barca Athletic drew 1-1, and they are still alive in this playoffs as they will head to the second leg of this final, which will be next weekend, next Sunday, and will be an away match at Cordoba's stadium. Now, Barca Athletic will have to win that final, because if they draw against Cordoba, the way it goes, it's based on who finished better on the table, and since Cordoba are currently ahead of Barca Athletic in their respective table, if there's a draw, Cordoba would get promoted. So Barca Athletic will have to win that final in order to make it to 2nd division, which would be, of course, amazing news for our reserve team. Now, more news about other matches, because now it's time to cover the Euros, because today Frankie de Jong's Netherlands beat Robert Lewandowski's Poland 2-1. Now, I know Frankie de Jong is not playing the Euros because he was ruled out due to his ankle injury, but I think it's still worth mentioning, especially since there is a player that's worth following in the Netherlands, which is Xavi Simons, who has expressed his desire to come to Barcelona. Not the best of matches for Xavi Simons, but nonetheless, he did have a few plays here and there where when you see him, you realize how much talent this guy has, despite, again, not having best of matches. And then when it comes to Poland, who lost, Robert Lewandowski did not play actually in that match because he's still, dealing with that injury. We'll see whether that injury prevents him from playing the rest of the Euros. Hopefully not, because it would be nice to see our Polish striker perform during these Euros. Now, our other Barcelona player who played in the Euros today was, of course, Andreas Christensen, where he drew Denmark drew against Slovenia 1-1, and where Andreas Christensen was probably one of the best players on the field for Denmark. He was absolutely solid in that defensive role, but what else can you expect from Christensen, who has shown us time and time again that he's a great center back, and more importantly, a great signing because Barcelona got him for free from Chelsea. Now, tomorrow, another Barcelona player will get his debut in the Euros, or when I mean debut, I mean for this tournament, not in general. But tomorrow, Jules Koundé's France will face off against Austria. We'll be watching that match because I'm very curious to see how France will perform during this European competition. Now, continuing to speak about Barcelona players, let's talk about Ferran Torres, because he has communicated to the club that he will not be leaving during this summer transfer market. Now, Ferran Torres is one of those players that are not considered as essential players for Hansi Flick. Barcelona have been trying to offload him since last summer. This summer is no different because Ferran Torres is not really a player that the club count on. So Barcelona were hoping to offload him this summer, but he has communicated to the club through his agents that he will not be leaving and that he wants to stay in Barcelona. because he believes that he can convince Hansi Flick and he can earn a spot in Hansi Flick's team. And he is also, or through his entourage, believed that Ferran Torres actually had a good season last season, because he is, after all, the second highest scorer on the squad, despite not starting, despite not playing many matches. And they think that he could have done even better if it wasn't for that injury that Ferran Torres suffered at the beginning of the season. Now, Ferran Torres, through his entourage, are, relying, of course, on his contract, which does run until 2027. And they think that, he could do good under Hansi Flick, since he is a player that is versatile attacker that can play in all different positions in the attack, as a center forward, on both wings, right and left. And even though Ferran Torres realizes that he will have a lot of competition this upcoming season, competition with players like Rafinha, of course, Ferran Torres, Vitor Roque, maybe Marguiu, if he gets promoted to the first team. But despite him realizing that there's a lot of competition, Ferran Torres believes that there are enough minutes for all the players on the squad, especially given that Hansi Flick is a coach that likes to rotate his players, given the high intensity that he employs in all of his teams, the intensity that we've seen in previous teams like Bayern Munich, and of course the German national team. Now, this communication from Ferran Torres through his entourage to Barcelona comes on the back of that news that I reported about a few days ago, that Newcastle had made an offer to Barcelona, which was 50 million fixed plus 5 million euros in variables. That is why Ferran Torres and his agent decided to tell Barcelona, because so far Barcelona have not sat down with any players. They have not told any players that they are leaving, because of course all players are currently on international duty. And Hansi Flick is still, discussing with Deco what players could be leaving, what players could be staying. So no one has told Ferran Torres yet that they want him out of the club. The reason he decided to come forward with this information is because there was that report that Newcastle had made an offer for Ferran. So Ferran, through his entourage, telling the club, we are not interested in leaving. And they believe that he could do good under Hansi Flick. And in fact, it's reported that Ferran Torres, through his entourage, told the club that they believe that the Newcastle offer is actually an insult, because he's an international player who's currently playing with Spain in the Euros. Plus, he did go through the Premier League playing for Manchester City, the best club currently in the English league. And therefore, they believe that this offer is an insult, because it would be an absolute downgrade to go from Manchester City, Barcelona, down to Newcastle. Now, of course, this is bad news for Barcelona, because as I've explained in many previous videos, even if Barcelona achieved the 1-to-1 rule with that Nike deal, they still need to offload players in order to get cash so they can sign new ones. And if Ferran is not willing to leave, that's one less player that Barcelona were hoping to count on as far as selling him and getting the cash. Of course, Rafinha has also informed the club on many occasions that he also doesn't want to leave. So that's going to be a big problem for Barcelona, because they're going to have to decide who can they sell in order to generate that cash to sign new players. Of course, there are players who will be leaving, like Sergio Roberto, Marcos Alonso, but they're leaving as free agents. Oriol Romeo will be sold, but that's going to be only 2-3 million euros, not enough to sign anyone important. So we're going to have to wait and see who can Barcelona offload in order, again, to generate that cash to sign new players. Now, speaking of players staying, leaving, etc., it's reported that Joao Cancelo's future at Barcelona is currently seeming a bit difficult. Now, Joao Cancelo's loan will end in a few days on June 30th, and then he'll head back to Manchester City. Barcelona would like to keep the player, and the player has said on many occasions that he wants to stay in Barcelona. However, the big problem is that Manchester City are not willing to loan Joao Cancelo once again. They want to offload him on a permanent basis, and it seems that the English club are looking for 30 million euros for the Portuguese fullback, which of course Barcelona cannot afford to pay. So if Joao Cancelo wants to stay in Barcelona, him and his agent Jorge Mendes will have to pressure Manchester City in order to lower their asking price, or at least to convince them to stay on loan. But there are some reports in the English media saying that even if Manchester City do agree on a loan, that they're gonna want a loan fee, plus, of course, for Barcelona to cover the entire salary of Cancelo, and they would want an obligation to buy, so Barcelona could sign him on a permanent transfer next summer, and those terms are so far unacceptable for Barcelona. Barcelona would like to keep both Joaos on a loan, simple loan for next season, but if they cannot keep him on loan, that they won't keep him because they don't consider them a priority. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video in a little bit, so stay tuned to the channel. But first, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment. And as always, peace, Barça.